Hey, welcome back to Creative Digressions. Today we're going to talk a bit about the nuts and bolts of creativity. So, you may have heard that those who approach life like a child playing a game, moving and pushing the pieces, possesses the power of kings. Now, this particular quotation comes from Roger von Oech. So, he's a creativity researcher based over at Stanford. Many years ago, I don't know about his recent whereabouts, but at least that's where he was based. But regardless, this quotation is taken from his book called A Whack on the Side of the Head: How You Can Be More Creative. So, although it was written back in 1983, every time I dip into its pages, I realize that its relevance is absolutely spot on today, as I'm sure it was back then. And it's also made me think about that other quotation you may have also heard about, having to do with the beginner's mind, right? So they say that in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are only a few. And this quotation by Shunryo Suzuki comes from Beginner's Mind, Zen Mind. And it reminds us that in this area where we have hyper specialization going on across the board, and obviously there are very good reasons to specialize, not the least of which is that, for example, you would, I'm sure, agree with me that you would rather have an expert surgeon operate on you than a generalist, right? So, and same goes for other areas. Uh, Airline pilots are experts, bankers specialize in finance, in teaching, and so on and so forth. So that's all fine and well. But how about us as regular Joe Smith or Jane Doe in our personal lives, and of course, somewhat in our professional lives, although we get our opportunities more so outside of work to be creative, which is not to say that companies limit creativity. It's just that corporations are much more regimented, at least the majority of them, whereas we can choose to be as creative or as little creative in our personal lives, right? So that's where we are best advised to step outside our comfort zone, look at adjacent areas, areas that we have perhaps not explored in the past, and see what all they have to offer us and what we have to offer them. And so I'm going to grab a book and from the top of this pile, it's the one from which I had read to you a quotation about how children approach lives with the innocence for which we know children well, right? So children will obviously, because it's their period of extremely rapid growth, especially starting with infancy, they will explore their environments in ways which sometimes can cause parents to pull their hair out. Children they explore with reckless abandon, let's put it that way. But that's how they learn. And then they widen their areas of exploration from within the house, within the four walls of the house, and then out in the backyard, and then so on and so forth. So this is the quotation, and I wanted to draw your attention to this particular one that I will read this out to you. Again, it's from A Whack on the Side of the Head: How You Too Can Be More Creative by Roger von Oech. So those who approach life like a child playing a game, moving and pushing pieces, have the kingly power. How powerful is that? Ties in with a lot of force with another area, which is the Zen mind. The Zen mind is so hyper-focused that it does not see right, it does not see left. It's just laser-focused. Whereas the beginner's mind is more kind of a scattershot in the sense that it wants to explore everything and sometimes even everything all at once. So if we take the gist of the value that this open-ended thinking can offer us, here's an excuse that we make, right? We don't have time to be creative. There's so many things to be done, so many chores waiting for us. But if we realize how much more our lives would be meaningful and more satisfying, then we would definitely carve out, let's say, if not like, I'm not talking about hours, and I'm just as prone to, perhaps if not dismissing this whole idea of carving out time for creativity, then at least for postponing it. And that's another area. But we're not going to focus on the naysayers at this time. And we talk about how to get rid of excuses. So Roger Van Oech, again, he writes about it in a very memorable way. He says that when the Spanish explorer Cortés landed at Veracruz, the first thing he did was burn his ships. Nice. Then he told his men, you can either fight or die. Burning his ships removed a third alternative, giving up and returning to Spain. Sometimes it takes more creativity to get rid of the excuses we put in the way than it does to come up with the idea in the first place. How about that? Yeah. What three factors, he asks, will make it difficult for you to reach your objective? How can you get rid of those excuses? So I'm going to hold on to this thought and I invite you to do the same. So I'm going to put this one back and grab this second title, which is every bit as worthy of your attention as the first one. So this one is Zigzag, the surprising path to greater creativity by Keith Sawyer. So what I like a lot about this particular title is how it has everything nicely formatted in sound bites and easy to digest small chunks. So he has this one quotation that jumped out at me as I was arranging this stack to share with you. So this quotation is from the French philosopher and writer Émile Auguste Chartier. Nothing is more dangerous than having just one idea. Wow, that blew my mind when I was, like I said, contemplating some of the material to include, to share with you today. And this quotation about having just one idea and having this laser focus on just that one idea to the exclusion of others does not bode well for our overall outlook. It reminds me of the saying that if all you have is a hammer, then all problems are going to appear to you like nails on which to bang on with the hammer. Whereas if we listen to the calls of our better selves and think about diversifying and spreading our wings. Remember last time around I talked about our innate, this inborn desire to just soar above it all, fly like an eagle. So this idea of diversifying really hit home for me with this quotation that nothing is more dangerous than having just one idea. So I'm going to cultivate this beginner's mind more and more. So expertise, much like I said, it's got a lot going for it, and it's mostly focused on the right side of our brains. The left side of the brains are creative selves want something more holistic. So I'm going to definitely take this lesson to heart. There was one other thing I had meant to share with you. And this is, again, from that same book by Keith Sawyer. The Surprising Path to Greater Creativity. And this small section has a quotation by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, a researcher, I believe, used to be based at the University of Chicago. I do not follow him much, but whatever little I read about his work was essentially his condensation on the ideas of flow. When you are really in the zone, you are in this firing on all cylinders mindset. So that's the state of flow. In fact, his book, right, I believe is titled Flow. And again, it's Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. So Keith Sawyer in this book is telling us about how when Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi interviewed 96 exceptional creators about their work habits, he found that they all shared a common practice. They worked on more than one project at a time. This was true of scientists, artists, writers, and dancers, creators in all fields. Having more than one project, and this is important, having more than one project underway means that if you reach an impasse, let's say you get stuck, there's a stalemate. So if you reach an impasse on one project, you can just shift gears and move to another for a while and then come back later. And it turns out that some of the best ideas come from combining ideas from multiple projects. Yeah, almost reminds me of the parable of the honeybee. Its example is it goes from flower to flower, and not only does it serve a extremely valuable purpose for the entire planet in pollinating flowers, it also accumulates and creates honey through this process. So I'm going to put this back. A couple more books. I'm going to just mention them in brief. This one I read a while back, and it had good excerpts here and there sprinkled throughout its pages. Imagination First, Unlocking the Power of Possibility by Eric Liu and Scott Knopp Brandon. So that's this one. I'll put it down here. And then this is by David Perkins. He's based over at the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and he has some of the deepest insights into creativity and holistic thinking, holistic learning. I wish I had the other book of his, my copy of that book, Making Learning Whole. But what I'll do is, not only for this one, I'll put all of the references to the books I've mentioned today in the bio. So this one is about the art of breakthrough thinking. Archimedes' bathtub. So Archimedes, you remember, had that eureka moment, right? When he stepped into a bathtub filled with water and he displaced some. And based on that, he realized it just came to him in a snap and he figured out exactly what to do to figure out that puzzle he had been given by the king to find the density, perhaps, or was it weight? I read all about this way back in school many years ago, but it was fascinating. And so he, tradition has it, he ran unenrobed, shall we say, right, through the streets crying, Eureka, Eureka. So that's that book, Archimedes' Bathtub. And then this one is a good one as well. It's a much more recent one, Thinker Toys, Rethink the Way You Think. And this one is by Michael McCullough. A Handbook of Creative Thinking Techniques. And I think I have one more left on the table. Eloquent JavaScript. Oh, excuse me. Looks like we had a little bit of snafu. I had meant to not quite include this one, but it was evidently floating around. This definitely was meant to be included, but this is JavaScript. We won't talk much about programming today. We definitely can and will pick up some cool stuff, not on like the nuts and bolts of programming. You can always find white papers on programming, Pure Heart's content. over on the internet, but I'll definitely look forward to sharing with you some of the insights I've gleaned from the world of programming, which continues to be my home turf. And so we'll definitely dive into that. And I'm thinking, what else? Oh, yeah. So I wasn't gonna do this, but in the spirit of playfulness, I'm gonna invite you to sing a song. If you feel shy about it, do it alone, but it's okay. Hey, let's play. I'm gonna sing this one song. People stay just a little bit longer. We wanna play just a little bit longer. Now the promoter don't mind, and the union don't mind. If we take a little time and we leave it all behind, sing one more song. Oh, won't you stay just a little bit longer? Thank you, Jackson Brown. Running on Empty. And hey, if I can sing it, you can too. So that's gonna wrap it up for today. So glad you joined. It's a delight. Thank you.